Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today, bitch. I'm really trying to figure out this new setup. Last time I feel like I was talking too much into the mic. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to take a boomerang of you watching this, if you're watching it like on your TV or in your car or whatever. If not, you can always take a screenshot. I love seeing that too. Everyone always has such cute little aesthetics, and I love seeing that, so Zeph, do it. Also, thank you to everyone who's been leaving Apple podcast reviews. Bitch, I was at 5 stars, but then I tweeted about it or something, and then some people went and rated it 1 star, so now I have some 1 stars. But they did not take the time to leave a review, just the 1 star. Whatever, it's mostly good, so... Anyway, how are y'all doing today? Literally, as soon as I was about to record, about 8,000 sirens started going off outside. But, I took it as an opportunity to reply to some DMs. So, from y'all, it was fine. I low-key feel like we have a lot to talk about today. I don't know, sometimes it's like I feel like I have nothing to talk about, especially these days, low-key, just because I've been vlogging every day. So sometimes it's like, bitch, I have nothing to say. And especially just because, I don't know, it's like obviously there's new stuff happening because of the internet. We all have, or what the fuck am I saying? I have access to social media, so it's not like I'm not having any new thoughts every day. You know what I mean? Because it's like something happens, or what's my take on this, or I see someone's dumbass opinions, let me comment on it. I don't know. Sometimes there's just like a different vibe, when you're out experiencing life, and I'm like, this happened to me, let me talk about it. But yeah, sometimes it's like I just sit down and I'm like, wow, I actually have a lot to discuss. So I'm excited. As always, don't forget to leave your comments down below or DM me your thoughts on anything that we discuss today. Also, dude, I always think of this because, again, sometimes I want to do podcasts that are completely dedicated to one subject, because I feel like so often I talk about, not even current events, but maybe current ideas. Oh, I saw this TikTok about someone talking about this, or my thoughts on this. I don't know. It's not a gossip podcast or a tea podcast or even a current events podcast, but you know what I mean? If you listen, you know the vibe. It's I'll talk about this or this or this in astrology, and it's a little more current. But sometimes I'm damn, I should just do a whole podcast dedicated to this one subject, which I feel like I've definitely done here and there, but definitely less so these days over these past few months. So let me know if there's any topics you want me to do a complete podcast on. Something I do want to talk about today is decentering romance a little more and just kind of my updated thoughts on that, because someone commented on the last podcast. But if I talk about it today and you guys have questions or stuff you want to add, maybe we can do a whole podcast on that. I think that's a very interesting subject. It's just so our lives, Yeah, what else is going on that I need to update you on? Starbucks, at least the one by me, started doing the iced brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso. I think I got it. I think I said that in order. Again, if you don't know the tea, Starbucks, well, they had oat milk, at least in LA, but when I went back home to Washington, they did not offer oat milk. So pretty recently, a few months ago, they started offering oat milk, I think pretty much everywhere, nationwide at least. And then there was such a demand that they stopped. And they just brought it back. So isn't that weird? And they use Oatly, so it's it's not like there was an Oatly shortage at the grocery store. So I wonder what the tea was. Oh my god. But yeah, I literally got one yesterday because I was a little not hungover yesterday, but a little hangover residue. Ew. And then today I was I need to be extra productive, so I got another one. It's so good. It's just so good. It's sweet without being chemically artificial sweet like a Dunkin' sometimes, which I have not had Dunkin' in so long. Wow. Just because of BBL, it's I don't want to walk that far. Starbucks is a little closer, so I went to her. Anyway, yeah, 4 weeks today. At the time this goes up, I'll be almost basically at 5 weeks. And then just 1 more week left. And then I can fucking go out on the town and get my nails done. I took my nails off today, rest in peace. But I think it's good to let them breathe for a couple weeks, even though it's kind of they're kind of nubs. Ew. And also, I was like going to a new... I swear it's like as soon as I sit down to vlog or do a podcast, my allergies just like kick in. Like my nose starts itching, and I wonder if it has something to do with like me talking. I don't know, just my nose will itch like crazy. Anyway, I was going to a new salon just because it was close, and the nail tech who usually does my nails, I still don't know if she's currently doing them. I don't know, she kind of like had some huge opportunities and like turned kind of lit. So I'm like, do you still do nails, sis? But I feel like they did my nails like basically like, okay, I didn't even mean to talk about this, but if you get acrylic nails, like the myth is that acrylic nails are bad for you and like weaken your nails. And I'm sure if you have ever gotten acrylics, there's probably been a time where you've taken them off, probably yourself, or they fall off, whatever, and your nail is just so thin underneath and like raggedy. It's like, that's not supposed to happen. That only happens because they drill your real nail too thin. Like they're damaging your nail. It's not the acrylic, it's like the way that they're doing it. Because when she was doing my nails, like that would not happen. Like I would take my nails off and my nails would still be strong. Because naturally I have very like strong nails. My hair grows fast, etc. So I was taking them off and I was like, ugh. So hopefully, I mean, now that I've cut off, you know, the part that was underneath the acrylic, the grown out part, it's like they feel strong and they don't feel actually super sensitive. So maybe it's not as bad as I thought, but still I did kind of notice a difference. So I'm kind of like, ugh. If you know anyone in LA that does nails really good and that's not like crazy, because I feel like a lot of nail techs here, it's like they do really pop in celebrities' nails or like influencers' nails, and it's like, I mean, yeah, but I don't really want to spend like $200 on my nails or more every time. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, sometimes it's cool, but like, I don't even really get designs like that, so like, I don't know. I'm trying to buy food. Anyway, let me know. Yeah. Anyway, what the fuck should we talk about first? Well, I guess I kind of want to talk about this girl's comment first, and then I also want to talk about the Scorpio full moon that was on Sunday, and then also this TikTok that I saw. Classic. So what was the girl's comment? I mean, I know the topic, but I wanted to read specifically what she said. Oh, and someone commented, my first thought, she is sitting. I'm not sitting, I'm standing. I have my leg on this little stool, but that's why I switched to over here, because I can stand. It's like it's bar height, you know? Dude, also, speaking of like, I was just thinking like, yeah, I'm like standing right now. Like, I wonder if that now makes me look tall. Or like you thought I was sitting before, but no, I'm actually like standing. Like, this, I was kind of talking to this guy, like literally I decided, he was like liking my pics, and I think we had some mutual followers or something. So it was like kind of someone that it's like we kind of know each other through mutual people. It's like, oh, I've probably seen you out before, whatever. And then I realized that he's like really short, and like not just like, I don't know, my friends will make fun of me because I'll think a guy is short if he's like 5'10", but that's honestly only like 1 inch taller than me. And I like to wear heels, or like even a lot of the sneakers I wear, it's like they give me a little bit of height, so I'm gonna be taller than you. But I realized after some IG investigation, I think he's like 5'6", because he had a pic with this celebrity. Cringe. So I looked at the celebrity's height, and the celebrity was my height, and a man, and so I was like, oh, it's kind of like, sorry, it's just like that's just like my worst thing. What does Dina say? This is my best thing. A guy being shorter than me is my worst thing. I just really can't do it. Don't blame me. Blame patriarchy, okay? Ugh. Like, I think the only way I could really get past that is like if literally all my bills were being paid. I don't know. It's just like, I just really don't like it. And don't say shit, because you don't even know how it feels unless you're also like tall. But like, I hate when my friends are like, get over it. It's not that big of a deal. And it's like, yeah, you're 5'2". You literally have never had this problem in your life. Don't get me wrong, I like being tall. I feel like it gives me a lot of authority, especially, you know, I'm someone who likes to walk places a lot. So I feel like sometimes it does give me like guys sometimes I feel are intimidated, especially because I dress like a boy most of the time. So I feel like I am left alone a lot because I'm taller than a lot of guys, which is so weird. It's like, why? What's in the water these days? Like, I like it. I can reach things, you know. But when it comes to my man, bitch, can you be at least like 6'6"? Okay, let me find this fucking comment. Okay, Katie B, love her. She comments on like every single one of my videos. A lot of you do, so thank you so much. But this was her comment. I would love to see a full vid on decentering romance and how you've been doing that, if that's something you're interested in doing. So I'm going to talk about it today, and I know I've talked about it before, but I've also kind of been thinking about it recently, so maybe there'll be some new insights, and then I can do another like full podcast or something on this topic if you want me to. Let me know. And let me know your thoughts on this. So I know I've talked about this before, but I feel like, especially as women, take a shot every time I say that, we're taught from such a young age that like romance is like the goal, the most important thing. And, you know, we're shown through a lot of the media that we consume, especially as kids, that like we ought to believe in this fairy tale romance, wedding, Prince Charming, handsome, you know, knight in shining armor, perfection, become a mother, become a wife, live happily ever after, whatever. And then that also kind of later goes on, you know, as we kind of grow up, we get to middle school, high school, we start to really see, you know, okay, what kind of woman are you going to be? Are you going to be the girlfriend, the wifey material, the respectable girl, or are you going to be the skank, the whore, the slut? She's fast. She's so easy. She's this, that. Oh my God, you're revealing so much skin. Whatever. You know, there's kind of like two different types. And then we just kind of always hear little comments like throughout our whole adolescence of adults around us and therefore, you know, older kids and like our peers just always making comments of like how, I feel like it's always like how about the other girls or how women act, you know, just like little comments. And you know, same is true for, I feel like, how we look. You know, I can think of a classic example that I feel like a lot of people go through is like they see their mom or their older sister or someone looking in the mirror and then like pointing out flaws about themselves. So that as a kid, you kind of like subconsciously absorb that and then, or maybe consciously, and you're like, oh, that's something I need to be worried about too. Like if they're like, oh, I can't button my jeans, that's like terrible, ew, I'm like disgusting. It's like, you're like, okay, write that down. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna remember never to like, I don't want to have that problem. Same is true for like relationships. It's like, okay, I don't want to be the whore. I don't want to be like, oh my God. And it's crazy like learning about this stuff now because I remember especially in 5th grade, and I think I've talked about this before, but there definitely started to be a divide, I feel, in 5th grade, you know, when we were all about to go into middle school, where there was like girls, and I feel like it was always like girls who had an older sister that was already in middle school or maybe even high school, and they were just a little more, you know, maybe they were wearing makeup already, they were already wearing like bras, maybe push-up bras, and they were just acting a little more mature, I guess. And especially me, and I feel like most of my friends were like the oldest or just very wholesome. Like one of my best friends was actually the younger sister, but like just like very wholesome in the sense of like kind of naive, kind of sheltered. You know, we wouldn't be allowed to dress like that or like whatever. So I remember like we would be like, oh yeah, what were the brands like, oh, we're never gonna start to wear Hollister shirts. Like that's something that those girls do. I don't want to be like that. And even though it wasn't consciously like, oh, I don't want to be a slut or whatever. Like it wasn't connected to sex at that point because we were so young. But it was still like we started, or at least I started to recognize this divide between like the two different types of girls. And I remember in 5th grade, High School Musical, the whole series was really poppin'. And, you know, there's just the classic juxtaposition between Gabriella and Sharpay. And you have like this, I say wholesome, but not that it's like better than, but just, you know, a little bit more like, oh, she wears more clothes. She's like a little more reserved. She's like a little more plain. We have like the plain Jane book nerd. And then we have Sharpay, who's like just so over the top. And like, I mean, that's a kid's, it's like a Disney movie. So it's not like she was like classified a whore or anything, but just kind of those two opposites of like super duper feminine, obnoxious, like, oh my God. And then like, this is how a woman should be, like low-key. And it's not that High School Musical was like directly saying that, but that's just such a prime example of like the two categories, I feel. And then, you know, as you get older, it's like, oh, it turns more into like, this is what you want to be to attract a husband. And this, you will never get a man if you act like that, if you're so high maintenance, if you sleep around, if you dress like this, look like this, whatever. Like, you need to be modest and whatever, you know, dress, cover up, not speak your mind. You need to shut up, go to the kitchen. So we're like absorbing all of this, you know, and I feel like therefore it's like kind of hard once we do start dating, or I don't know if you'd really, oh my God, my nose is so itchy. I don't know if you could really call it dating like in, let's just say high school, but you know, you're like talking to boys, you're like interested, whatever, you like have crushes. And then as soon as, I feel like especially when you become like sexually active, which is so normal at these ages because, you know, bitch, fucking puberty, hormones, like, it's like, oh my God, that's so young. But it's like, is it? Because I feel like it's actually pretty natural. Like, not for an old man of 25 to be interested in a 16-year-old, but like for a 16-year-old to be interested in someone their own age, like, I don't know, I feel like that's pretty normal. Hormones, puberty, like, we're obviously going to have natural curiosity about sex. So then it's like you're having these natural urges or curiosities. So if you act on them, or say you're like talking to someone, or you decide, you know, today's the day I'm going to lose my virginity, which virginity is a construct, but whatever. I'm going to have sex today. I'm going to like go to first base with this boy, whatever. It's like, we're doing something that hopefully, you know, feels just natural, or we're like naturally curious about, but then because we have all of these like preconceived or like subconscious notions of like what that means to like participate in that activity, it's like we can so easily feel bad about it, or like if someone finds out, if someone else finds out, or a parent finds out, or whoever, it's like we're so easily shamed over it. And then I feel like it's weird. I feel like boys and girls are like taught about sex differently. So it's like if you know, we've been taught as women, we've been taught our whole lives that like, this is the most important thing. Like, don't just give this away easily. Like, oh my God. So then if it's like, okay, I like this person, I want to engage in this activity with them. But then as soon as you do, to them, you're considered like a whore or a slut or whatever. But then you're like, I trusted you enough to like do this, and now you're blowing me off. So it's like, what? And I feel like a lot of that, like, oh, she's clingy after we slept together, or she wants more, or girls can't have sex without an emotional connection, whatever. It's like, how much of that is actually just like, we've been taught our whole lives that this is like the most important thing about us. And once we do it, it's like you're just going to blow me off after I gave you this, after I've been taught that this is like the most precious thing in the world and like to protect it forever. And I thought you were worthy enough and I wanted to do this with you, and now You know what I mean? Like, how much of that is just like taught? So anyway, the point of this is like, we're just taught from such a young age to center romance, to center men. What is your future husband going to think? What are your future kids going to think? You're never going to get a husband acting like that, dressing like that, having so high standards, whatever. And we're so little taught to put ourselves first and to center ourselves and like what is ultimately best for us and our own well-being. And it's like it can be so difficult to like even know what that is, because we're just constantly taught and shown that like, well, it's either you're this or you're that. You're either a wife or a whore. No in between. Case is closed. And yeah, so I don't know. I feel like, especially over quarantine and just this whole past year, and especially like 2020, where a lot of stuff, most everything was like closed in LA. It's like I wasn't really going out. I wasn't really getting that male attention IRL that I normally would get, you know, if I went to the bar, went to the club. And I don't know, I feel like, you know, that's one of the joys of life. It's like you go out, someone cute approaches you, you flirt with them, you get their number, maybe you go on a date with them, like it's fun. But I didn't really have that. So I was just spending like a lot of time alone, and like, I don't know, I feel like personally I just really was like reflecting on all my past, not even like relationships. I guess you could say relationships, but not like exes, but more so like interactions with men, and like what was I really gaining. And this kind of goes into what I like the TikTok I wanted to talk about, but like how many of these things that didn't necessarily work out was really just like kind of the same person or the same lesson coming around again and again, just because I hadn't learned the lesson yet. So it's like different person, same vibe, different person, same lesson, you know. And it's like until you get that, it's like you're gonna keep running into that same vibe of the same person. So it's just kind of like, what do I really gain from these? It's like, first of all, what do I really want? And then also, what do I really gain? And that's why I feel like, you know, when pick me girls especially, are so like, I don't need a man to pay for my half of the day. I'll always pay for my half. It's like, why? What else do you gain from the situation? Like maybe some D, like, will it really be good? Like I don't know. I feel like we're just expected to put up with so much. It's like the least you could do is like, pay for my drink, pay for my half of the meal. You know what I mean? I really don't want to seriously date or be in a relationship with a man who is misogynistic or homophobic or transphobic or racist or classist, or like all of these things that I feel like I have been like learning so much about and like unpacking in myself. So that automatically eliminates so many guys. So that's not to say like I want to ask, like, you know, once I go out, if a guy approaches me, it's not like I'm automatically going to start like asking him all these questions. But I feel like there's a difference. I feel like I've learned that there's a difference between like enjoying the like, I don't know, the flirtation or just like the lighthearted, like surface level vibe. And then, you know, taking everything almost like so seriously and like, in a way, like lowering yourself or like lowering your standards just in the name of like, I don't want to be single. It's just like, I feel like a lot of guys I heard this somewhere. I feel like a lot of guys want a traditional woman or traditional women without being a traditional man. So it's like they want a woman who's going to cook and clean and be their wife and have their children and take care of the home, be there for him, massage his feet at the end of the day. Ew. Have my dinner waiting on the table when I get home from work. But then it's like they don't want to pay all the bills. They still expect you to go half on rent. They still expect you to pay for dates or go half on the date. It's like, baby, you know, that's not how it worked in the olden days. Like, you got to pay for everything. So, you know, this, I pay for myself. It's like, okay, what are you gaining? Like, what do you gain from that? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I feel like I could definitely like be a little more, I don't know. I feel like there's like so many layers to this. We're barely scratching the surface, but you just really have to think like, do I really want to invest so much of my time and emotional well-being into someone who like doesn't have a clean bathroom, low-key sometimes makes comments that might be a little homophobic, doesn't respect women? Just because he's nice to you doesn't mean he's like, if he only respects or basically is nice to women he's attracted to, that doesn't mean he respects women. Expects me to pay for half of the date. Like, what do I gain? I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of like peace to be had in not dealing with that, you know? So that's not to say I'm like, yeah, I'm never gonna like do anything ever again. I'm never dating. I'm never gonna think about being in a relationship, whatever. But it's just like over so many months of like not doing that, it's like you just kind of realize like, oh my God, why did I put up with that before? Or like, why was I like willing to just go along with so much of the bullshit that this guy or whatever was putting me through? You know what, I like them, like why? Yeah, so I say this like not to sound bitter or like I've had horrible experiences with guys. I mean, like I definitely have, but like I've also had who hasn't? I've also had really great encounters with guys who I feel like did actually respect me as like a person and like were very giving and like caring, and like that's the vibe that I would want in like a serious partner or like relationship. But yeah, I feel like just deprioritizing romance in your life, I feel like can be very powerful because again, it's like so ingrained in like what it means to be a woman. And you know, just hearing comments our whole growing up like, oh, she's how old? She's not married, she doesn't have kids, she's single, like what? Oh my God, she has another boyfriend, like oh my God, like what? She just moves on so fast, like she, you know? And then you see the straight couples on TikTok, the wife like being my husband for a day, throwing dishes on the ground, basically leaving all the dishes in the sink. But I just know that I've wasted so much time like with almost like the drama of like, oh my God, does he like me back? Like, oh my God, he said this, what does it mean? Like this, that, like, oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable with this, but like whatever. Oh, is he talking to other girls? Oh my God, no, I feel like he's talking to someone else. I feel like he's lying. I feel like this, that. And it's like you just like don't have to do that. Like if you seriously take a step back, you're like, I am not gaining anything from this. I'm going to stop. So I feel there's like a lot of layers in this discussion, but this is kind of like just me unplanned, my thoughts. Yeah. I feel like also some of it is like being a Leo. Is anyone going to be good enough for me? But yeah, like there's no, like, I just feel like we don't need to have this pressure to like be in a relationship. Like it's so fun to be quote unquote single. You know, I feel like, yeah. And also the thing is like people are miserable in relationships. Like most of them are. So maybe you're in a relationship and you're like very happy. Good for you. Spill your secrets down below. It's like the grass is sometimes like a little greener, you know? Anyway, let me know your thoughts. I would love to talk about this in a little more organized fashion, but those are just kind of like my overall, like off the top of my head, things I've been thinking about. Anyway, as far as like that TikTok I was talking about, this girl talked about how your early 20s are just running into the same person over and over in different people and relearning the same lesson over and over. And she really emphasized, sis was emotional. She was like, nobody's going to do it for you. Like you literally have to realize it yourself and deal with it yourself and learn the lesson yourself, because otherwise it's just going to keep happening. And can I tell you, like, I probably realized this a couple of years ago, but I realized that like I kept running into the same person over and over, the same vibe in different people over and over, and I just wasn't learning the lesson. And it's like kind of in different forms, you know, it's like different things. And I feel like I finally learned the lesson. So that's just kind of like a tidbit, something to think about. But it's so true, bro. It's like, fuck, I'm sick of realizing stuff. Just let me live and be dumb. Ignorance really is bliss. But I don't know. I feel like ignorance can like lead to issues too. So you know what? We're going to stick with learning our lessons. So let's talk about the full moon in Scorpio. It's bringing release and encouraging us to embrace our worth, bitch. Yeah, people were talking about like manifestation, and then people were also talking about like sex magic, which if you guys have never tried, I would recommend trying it. You can do it like when you're having your special alone time, but basically it's like while you are how do I even say this without getting demonetized? It's basically like while you are having the experience at the end, you know what I'm talking about? You like manifest. So you like think about what you want and like the feeling, because you know it's all about the feeling of like having what you want, not so much what actually you want. It's like the feeling. I swear that kind of like works. And people have said, you know, oh, you know, while you're having a orgasm or like whatever, it's like you're the most open to the universe and like, oh my God. So it's like a great time to manifest. And I think just because Scorpio is like a sign of like, so like death and sexual and like, yeah, it's like a great time for that. And this says that full moon energy can manifest for up to 2 weeks. So if you're listening, you know, this podcast comes out on Thursday. The full moon was on Sunday. We still have some time. Try it if you haven't. Yeah. Ew, you know what I hate? Okay, like I could get it maybe for like a guy who's addicted to porn or something, which not, I mean like porn addiction can happen with anyone, but you know the like classic stereotype of like a guy in his mom's basement, whatever. One time someone was talking about like, you know, not orgasming as a woman and like, oh, you need to protect your sexual energy. I hate that. Like the orgasm gap is big enough as it is. So you're really telling women to orgasm less? Ew, get the fuck out of here. Like, no, bitch, we're going to use it for manifestation purposes and just honestly for pure vibes sometimes. Maybe you're bored. It releases like dopamine, right? Probably gets your endorphins going. Like, it's just healthy. God. Yeah, so full moon is like realizations. We've talked about full moon so many times, but let me know like how you were feeling. I just felt super emotional. And like the night before the full moon, I didn't really sleep that good, which can be known to happen just because it's like so much energy in the sky and like, oh my God. But then last night I slept really good, probably just making up for it the night before. But yeah, what does this website say? Just like revealing stuff, like revealing maybe our darkest shadows, what our next steps are. The moon is not actually pink, kind of a scam. Get intimate. Say less. Yeah. So let me know your vibes. Let me know how this full moon was for you. Yeah, I feel like that's honestly all I have to say. Mother's Day is coming up. Don't forget. Learn your lessons and write stuff down when you realize stuff, because that's so, like, do it for your future self. Even if you're like, I'll remember this, or even if you're like, I don't care. Dude, when you realize something, Like maybe you realize, oh my God, this is the lesson that I keep learning over and over again. Like, fuck, write that shit down, because it's so interesting to look back on like when you realize stuff, you know? Because I swear it's so easy to forget. Like, you think you'll remember, maybe sometimes you'll remember, but like, I don't know. I just will look back, because I don't really journal like all that much, but if I am feeling something really intensely or I have a realization or whatever, I write that shit down for sure. And it's like crazy to look back and be like, oh my God, this is when I realized that. Like, yeah, I would recommend that you do it. Like, I definitely don't journal every day. I don't have that much to say. Like, I really don't. Every once in a while, every few weeks, bitch, I be having like a big realization, and I am like, let me go write this down. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on anything I discussed today. Don't forget to post this on your story, etc. And I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, everyone.